better time than the present. I know we have some kind of introductions and some housekeeping items that we want to go ahead and knock out. So hand the mic over to who's going to be manning that. Is that you, Shannon or Donna?
It is. It is. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you guys so much for joining Restorative Justice Charlotte for this teach-in today. Today, I am really excited to have the opportunity to make the introductions for these dynamic panelists and moderator. I am Shannon McKnight, and I've been working with Restorative Justice Charlotte for a couple of months, just kind of helping Rabbi Judy and Reverend Keaton out on some organizational things. So when this topic came up, I was really excited to be able to make these introductions. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our moderator first, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of a few little housekeeping items just for the sake of having it. So today we have our moderator is Lindsay Trey Crumlin. So Lindsay is new to Charlotte, but he's happy to call the city home at this point. He's a graduate of South Carolina State University and he has his bachelor's degree in economics. Mr. Crumlin hopes to bring his investment and business acumen to his community and bridge the gap between the haves and the have-nots. Lindsay works for Principal Financial Group and is the founder of the young professional group of Restorative Justice Charlotte, and it's called the Forever Foundation. If you all check the chats from time to time, our moderator, our panel will also be including their social media profiles and social media channels. So go on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and follow this awesome crew we have today. Additionally, as you're doing your following spree, if you can, please support Restorative Justice Charlotte and follow our profiles as well. These will be put in the chat, but our Facebook profile is Restorative Justice CLT. For Instagram, Restorative Justice CLT, and here's I'm gonna throw you a loop. Twitter, we are Restorative J CLT. So I will put these in the chat a little later on, but please support by following, keeping up with all the good things that not only Restorative Justice is doing, but our partners, our moderator, and our panelists. So today on our panel, we will be talking to three very dynamic individuals. These individuals have three things in common that we should be really excited about. Number one, they are all Charlotte natives. So there are three unicorns that you're going to be talking to today. They all graduated from Garinger High School. So that's also very special. And last but not least, they are all Black business owners here in the city. So these are gentlemen who have grown up in this city, watched how the community has had to pivot as we undertake different changes. And they've found a niche, not only in their communities, but the communities as large as Black business owners. We have Frank White, who is a 1994 graduate of Garinger High School, and he is the owner of BW Sweets Bakery. It's a perfect time. It's lunchtime, so when you get a chance off this call, go visit. Next, we have Javon Williams. Javon is a 1996 graduate of Garinger High School. He also attended Winston-Salem State University, and he's the owner of Mr. Jim's Pizza. Mr. Jim's Pizza has been around for 22 years now, and he's located on the west side of Charlotte. They just really had a great interview at Q City Metro. I'll put the link to that article in the chats as well that gave a little bit of history on the Williams family and starting getting this pizza place on the west side. And finally, last but not least, we have Mr. Kemuel Murray. He is the owner of Morrison Cleaners and Alterations. Mr. Murray is also a graduate of Johnson C. Smith University and a 1995 graduate of Garinger High School. So we'd like to welcome these gentlemen and yourselves to this teach-in on Restorative Justice Charlotte, and I'll hand this back over to you, Trey.
Oh, that is awesome. I guess I gotta ask, can everyone hear me well? I guess we already started, and I assume so. So thank you for the head nods. First, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I know during the lunchtime, it's hard to carve out time to just be intentional about this subject, but it's so very important. So first, thank you everyone for dialing in and making time for this very, like I said, important subject. Real quick, I'm curious who's checking in and where. A lot of organizations I see do this now as we try to get comfortable with this virtual environment, right? So making sure the chat function is working. If anyone, share where you're from, what part of Charlotte you're checking in from, North Carolina, if you let me know, I'd be glad to see just kind of who we're with. I think with 15 people, we can have a real robust conversation and, just get comfortable asking questions. So thank you, Donna, Pam from Harrisburg. I'm new, as it's already been mentioned, I'm new to Charlotte, so happy to learn more about it. And of course, visit restorativejusticect.org to learn just about what this great group is doing and to learn more. So we have prearranged questions, but by all means, like I said, with this group, feel free to drop questions as they come along. I imagine kind of running the gamut when it comes to different things we'll hit on, so you can certainly kind of dive in. Before we do so, I just kind of want to set the table a bit more of restorative justice and kind of how I got involved in this great work. As I mentioned already, I was an economics major and really understand and appreciate that in the society that we live in, money talks. And I really fondly believe that the idea of entrepreneurship is a gateway to kind of build generational wealth. And as a result of that, we're going to be able to pass that on and really kind of strike the change that we need to see for generations, which is why I was honored and humbled to kind of host this conversation. So with that, I did kind of have some prearranged questions like I already mentioned, but as we kind of go through this conversation, feel free to drop them as we go through the chat. So first, I may kind of go around the horn. First to you, Mr. Murray, then you, Mr. Williams, and then you, Mr. White. How about just tell us a bit more about yourself, about your business, and kind of how you got started. Mr. Murray, you first, please. You're doing a great mime impression, but you're on mute.
Just saw that. I apologize. Again, I'm Kemuel Murray. I'm the owner of Morrison Cleaners and Alterations. We offer various things, not only dry cleaning and laundry. We do watch repair, shoe repair, shoe cleaning, and various other things as far as tailoring and also alterations. We're located in the South Park area, which is kind of really close to South Park Mall. I think we're about a block away from South Park Mall. If to get even closer, if anybody know where the Barnes and Nobles is, where the old Earth Fair used to be located, we're located right over there in that area in the Morrison complex. And just really definitely happy to be here. Got started with cleaners. It was a thing for me. I kind of fell into. I was an educator for 15 years. 5 years working with the Levine Museum of the New South, and then 10 years with Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools. And it was just an opportunity that I saw when I got into the cleaning business, and really literally just fell into it. So we've been doing it for about 4 years now.
Congratulations. Thank you for that. Mr. Williams?
Hi, how everybody doing? My name is Javon Williams. I'm born and raised in Charlotte, from Charlotte, North Carolina. We got into the pizza business now for 22 years. We kind of slid into it almost. We initially owned a hair salon. My family, my father and my mother started a hair salon about 45 years ago. During that time, I would say it was around 94. Around 94, they tried to order pizza to the hair salon. And since we're located on the west side of Charlotte at that time, it was considered a high crime area. All the pizza places in the area said they would not deliver. So that kind of gave us the idea there's a new business to start. We ended up going to a franchise convention at the old Merchandise Mart on Independence, and ended up meeting Mr. Jim's, which is a pizza franchise based out of Texas. Basically, we worked with them for back and forth for maybe a month or so. Then we fully decided we're going to go with them. And so far, we've been with them for 22 years. We're at the corner of West Boulevard and Remount Road, 1603 West Boulevard. Pretty much we're the neighborhood pizza place. I always tell people about how when we first opened up, people were taking pictures of us because they hadn't had deliveries in so long. I mean, like I said, if you come to the west side or even grew up over here, you've had our food. Even at the schools, all the schools in the general area tend to order from us when they're doing group or party orders because we're the neighborhood pizza place.
Thank you for that. And last but certainly not least, Mr. White.
I think I'm off mute now. Can you hear me?
Good.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'm Frankie White, owner and operator of BW Sweets Bakery. I never saw myself as a baker. I never had any desire to own a bakery. I was in real estate, and when the market crashed in 2008, I was looking for other things to get involved in. So I got involved in an ice cream franchise, and we offered ice cream cakes, but they were expensive. People couldn't afford them. So I started making cakes by myself. And then I started a little kind of side hustle, if you will, selling cakes. And I came up with a little business name, Charlotte Sweet Treats. And in 2011, one of my sons was 8 years old at the time, Bradley White. He passed away from cancer. So I renamed the business BW Sweets Bakery after him. And then I just continued to just kind of build on that. And the business just kind of grew organically. Now we're located in the Easttown Market Shopping Center on the corner of Milton Road, Sharon Amity, Harris Boulevard. It's actually right down the street from where I grew up. My first job was in the shopping center with the Winn-Dixie years ago. So definitely kind of back in the community where I wanted to be.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Mr. White. And thank you, Shannon, for kind of providing those bios. It's always good to kind of hear from the people themselves. I really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing that story about how you got the name BW Sweets. My mother's a cancer survivor, so I know how wicked that is, but I appreciate you for being willing to share your story. So with that, I think we can dive into some of the questions that I have. What kind of first allowed me to learn about restorative justice CLT and the work going on here was a neighborhood called the Brooklyn neighborhood. And that's a historic neighborhood here in Charlotte that, as a result of something called urban renewal, was essentially eradicated. Urban renewal was no joke. The idea was, you're going to invest a lot of dollars into these communities that were kind of run down, just hadn't had much investment in them. But fortunately, there was a real robust kind of ecosystem inside of those that were kind of flourishing. Quite frankly, this happened across the country. After doing my own kind of research, urban renewal occurred in cities like Des Moines, Iowa, obviously here in Charlotte, even Tampa, Florida as well. So it really kind of talks to the systemic kind of happening that was going on around the country. And James Baldwin, one of the great novelists and activists, kind of referred to it as Negro removal, where you'd have kind of these really kind of robust urban areas that were kind of growing and essentially decimated in the name of, investment. And when that happened here in Charlotte to the Brooklyn neighborhood, over 216 businesses were destroyed. So essentially what they would do is they would come into these different communities and leverage practices such as eminent domain to say, even though you have this value of this property or business, we can essentially kind of leverage that government function and say, it's not as much as that, and kind of give you a check and pay you to go away. So with that, I guess I just kind of broadly want to imagine what would it look like if that never happened here. Knowing the benefits of entrepreneurship and kind of owning a business, and if you were to kind of have that starting point, or at least that vision going forward, what do you think Charlotte would look like if urban renewal never happened? Mr. Murray, you kind of started us off, so how about I ask you first?
If it never happened, one of the things I think, if you just take our three businesses, we would not be one on the west side, one on the east side, one on the south side. It might be a thing of all of us in one area. I think what urban renewal did is it dispersed a lot of people out of Charlotte. And so when people were dispersed, I'm going to go to the places that are on my side of town. If I live on the east side, I'm going to usually go and I'm going to patronize things that are on my side of town. And I think what urban renewal did, it was just a fast action move that just dispersed people really quickly. And in my case, it really just set a precedent for moving people even more. The neighborhoods that people moved out of Brooklyn, they moved into other neighborhoods, and then those neighborhoods became it was almost kind of the same thing. You know, you devalue the housing, you devalue the land, and then people have to move on. And so I think it was a big thing of ownership, and it was one thing that I always look at is being able to own things. And those churches, those businesses, they would not have been dispersed. Yeah, most businesses are in a place because there's a need for something. From pizza to I mean, everybody wants the sweets. You know, so any of those things, people want those things, and they want it to be convenient. I want to be able to leave my house and not have to travel all across town to be able to be to something. And I think that's just an important thing that urban renewal did in Charlotte. It just dispersed people very quickly. And like I said, I think it just took businesses all across Charlotte, and the opportunity was gone. It just in my opinion.
Mr. White, I think I'll kind of go to you next, only because in that I heard you essentially were able to kind of create your business out of the need, how, you had a franchise and there was kind of these exorbitant prices, but you were able to kind of go in and, establish your own price point as a result of that need. So maybe I ask you to kind of speak to the idea of if urban renewal never happened, excuse me.
And just the piggyback on what Mr. Murray said about dispersing people, I definitely don't think that we would have created these businesses out of the needs. So kind of out of the ashes rose these different ideas on how we can cultivate and build something of our own. For me, it was providing that service to people, white, black, brown, because people just could not afford, the kids still had a birthday. You just could not afford at the time $65 for a cake. So, trying to meet the need and bridge the gap is kind of where it started. And had disbursement, had urban renewal not happened, I can say I probably wouldn't be where I am today.
I think just to kind of take a step back, even to talk about the magnitude of what happened here, have these numbers pulled up, and there were roughly 216 businesses that were kind of established when this occurred. 11 churches, 2 schools, and over 1,400 homes. So essentially, you had this very robust, like I was saying, economic ecosystem that was eradicated as a result of that. So who knows what could have happened, as you already mentioned, Mr. White, had that not have occurred, the need, could have either accelerated our development or who knows. Mr. Williams, same question to you.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of piggyback on what both Mr. Murray and Mr. White said. We kind of all developed out of the need. If that urban renewal hadn't happened, and that dispersal hadn't happened, I would say the growth would have happened maybe a little earlier, but it would have been, how would I say, it wouldn't be concentrated. Our black businesses wouldn't be considered in black neighborhoods. We would be just considered universal businesses in that area because the diversity would have stayed there. It would have been more homes, more businesses. Like the reason why I opened up is because a lot of businesses left my area because of the urban renewal. So it wasn't here for us. But if urban renewal hadn't happened, the businesses would have been already here. It may have been different. It may have caused me to look for a different type of business, but we would have been here, and there would have been probably more here now. Because currently, there are more businesses coming back to this area, and they dispersed and left out initially.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. When I hear something, I know I kind of sent to everyone some prearranged questions, but I hear that, and it just begs the question that each of you identified a need and tried to aim to fill it. So when you look at kind of what gave you that edge or that entrepreneurial spirit, what is that something that you think was inside of you, or something that can be replicated and taught to others? Mr. Murray, I think we talked about that briefly. Can I ask you to kind of start and answer that question?
Could I teach somebody how to do this? I don't know. To be an entrepreneur, to be someone who says, this is how I eat, and I don't have anyone else to like be over me and to feed me, to give me a paycheck. I don't know if that's not for everybody. I always say it's not for the faint of heart. If you're, because I'm pretty sure, Mr. White, Mr. Williams can attest to this. There are some bad days and there are great days. I mean, and if you're not ready to take on the bad days, that's not teachable. I don't think any of that's teachable to be an entrepreneur. I think for anyone who takes on a business, and actually you can see it grow. Like I've seen, Williams' business grow. I was at Johnson C. Smith when they were bringing pieces to us. I saw your brother bringing it to us. So it was great to see that growth. And the same with White. It's great to see the growth. And but the only reason I know that it grew, or I can see the growth, is because something is in them that you just cannot teach anybody. It is something that you have to have to be an entrepreneur, because literally it is not for the faint of heart. It's not for I'm gonna get rich overnight. It's not for I'm going to become this millionaire right now. It is for, if you really want to work hard and get success, then that's what it is. And that is not for everybody. Everybody can't be a football player. Everybody can't be play basketball. I mean, you can do it on your spare time. I mean, everybody has these side hustles. But no, to say this is going to be my main source, I would just say that's not for the faint of heart. And that's just how I kind of feel about that part of it.
Before I ask Mr. Williams or Mr. White, would you call it grit essentially, or determination, or kind of how would you categorize that it factor?
It's all the above. I mean, it's grit, it's determination, it's I don't give up, it's also being innovative. Anybody that's that owns a business, you have to be able to move with the times. I mean, we're all dealing with the COVID season and everything, and that changed the whole game up. So you, as a business person, you have to be able to say, can I forecast? Can I adapt? Can I move? Can I change? Because you may have a thought of how your business is going to go, and the next day says, hey, it's not going to go like this anymore. You're going to have to change up, and whether it's COVID or whether it's just bad times, those are things that everything that you have, you got to be saying, you have to be able to say, I will sacrifice myself for this business. And that's the only way I can put it.
Mr. Williams, I asked you the same question. If I need to reiterate it, let me know. But I think you kind of, based off that, I'm sure you have a lot to say.
Yeah. Starting your own business, like you said, is not for the faint of heart. I used to tell my friends, we were open 6 days a week, but I'm on call 7. It's like, anything happens, I am the maintenance man. I am the painter. I am security. I am what you need for this job. I will deliver pizzas, make pizzas. I have done it all. And that it took me the first, I say, 5 to 8 years of even being open before I started taking vacations. I mean, and they made my wife made me do that. It wasn't like I wanted to. She made me do that because you live and breathe this business. I tell people it's not necessarily hard to jump in. It's hard to stay in. Once you get the nerve to fully put yourself out there, you're putting your family out there because, there's no health insurance coming through like a regular 9-to-5 job. There's no times off. There's no days off. There's no paid vacations. You're out there. You're the example for your employees. You're the example. You're the face of your business. If anything goes wrong, if an alarm goes off at 4 a.m, you're getting up. If the power goes out and I'm worried about my food, I'm the guy pulling out the food, pulling out a freezer, ice, doing whatever thing I got to do. It's not me being able to call somebody or roll over and say I don't feel good. Me and my brother used to joke about the first year that we opened up. We'd rotate. Okay, if I wasn't feeling good, I'd like give me a couple hours. He'd come in and step up for me, and then I'd come back in. I was like, we don't have time to be off. It's us paying the bills. There's nothing else, and you have to give it that same mentality, that same energy. Like, this is not a plan B, and there's not a plan C. This is it. I'm gonna adjust to everything I got to do to make this plan A work. Whether it's the side road to take it, but this is it. I got to give it my all because nobody else will.
Mr. White, I invite the same question to you. I think it all just falls within the vein of like, what are the challenges you're facing that I guess people don't appreciate?
I look at this business like one of my children. And failure is not an option. Just like you would never give up on your child, you would never fail your child. Even when things go bad, you just have to never give up. I've had to, I've lost a location because it wasn't successful. I've had to move locations, a year into it because the fire marshal came to do their yearly inspection and the wiring wasn't up to code. And it was like that when I got there, I've had times where I couldn't afford to hire staff, but you have to keep going. And like they both said, there is nobody else that you can't say, okay, well, I need vacation time, or I need sick time, or, I don't feel good. You have to get up, you have to go. I'm very fortunate now, we have a staff of 12 here, but if nobody comes to work, I still have to come. When it snows outside and people say, no, I can't get to work, I have to come. Like, I'm the donut maker, I'm the cupcake maker, I make the frosting, I make bread, whatever we need, you have to step in and do. And you have to understand that you can't lose. So while my friends would be out, they were like, oh, well, you're the boss, you should be able to take time off. No, I can't take time off because I am the boss. It's tough. And there are lots of sacrifices. There are many, many, events that I missed with my kids. There were many events that I missed with my family. Because as a business owner, you are always looking for the greater good. You're always looking for a way to survive. I tell my employees in here all the time, they're like, hey, we got to get this done today. I'm like, hey, today is great, but I'm trying to make sure y'all still get paid 6 months from now because the time keeps on ticking. So the money still has to come in. So as a business owner, you're the end all be all, like you said, you're the maintenance man, you're security, you're the purchaser, you're the accountant, you're all of these things because ultimately it all lies on your head. So if you are not ready for that type of sacrifice, this would not, being a business owner would not be for you. And I agree with Mr. Murray, some of those things just aren't teachable because you just may not have it. You can take all the singing lessons you want in the world. I mean, you're gonna be able to sound like Jennifer Hudson. It's just, it is what it is. Certain elements can be taught, but the fundamentals and the amount of sacrifice, I just don't think everybody has the DNA to make those sacrifices.
To pivot a bit, but to maybe transition into, or I guess stay in the same kind of idea of just challenges you face, I want to kind of look and focus on the Black experience of that. And I have a question here. What challenges have you seen as a Black-owned business in dealing with financial institutions, essentially access to capital? Do you think it's worse as owning a Black business? Mr. Murray, I'll ask you first. It's kind of the flow of things.
I would just take right now. I mean, I'm just going to go through the PPP loan. If I just talk about that, I think for a lot of Black business owners who are I think a lot of our shoes. I mean, we're not a big company. I mean, if you're talking about a small company, you can say from 249, 250 on down, that's a small business. But I think when you're talking about a business like ours, where you're the owner and operator, then a lot of things get canceled out when you're going to a bank and you're saying, and I'm just going with the PPP loan. I'm going to the bank and I'm asking for a loan because literally I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, that was a difficult task. And I wonder, did anybody else go through that? I mean, I talked to other business owners and it just seemed like, hold up, is it just me that's going through this? I mean, literally, I've been with my bank, I mean, I don't know how long. And I said, well, I think I probably would have got the loan faster, or I would have got things faster if I knew somebody at the bank, like we had a personal relationship, those things. And I just looked at it as the people that did, especially where I am in the South Park area, just dealing with so many businesses out here. I was just like, well, you know the people over there. You go to the clubs with them. You go to the country club with them. You live in the same neighborhood as them. So, you know, that may be easier for you to get that. I just think and I can only speak for me. I didn't take a loan out to start this business. And that was my biggest fear, because I didn't want to go through the struggle of having to get the money. I wanted to say, can I get it from these different avenues and pull it together and still jump into a business? Because that was my biggest thing. I was like, I did not want to go to a bank and get turned down and get turned down and get turned down. I was like, I wanted to make sure if I was going to make it, I had the funds to make it without having to go into a bank. And for me, like, I feel like begging for you just to loan me something where, you know, other people didn't have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Williams, how do you feel as if your experience is different from others?
Like I myself, we did go get a loan, went to the bank. I won't say it was a different experience, but it definitely, after we did get the loan, as a small business, I didn't want to get another. Like everything afterwards, I wanted to kind of make it on my own or keep in house. What I did learn later on through other businesses and some other relationships about grants that I didn't know about from the beginning, access to those, being on certain lists that allowed me to get more business from the city and the government. That's the thing I've noticed that was different. A lot of other businesses knew that from the beginning or were offered that. Like I know I mentioned to Mr. Crumley earlier when we spoke on the phone that until COVID-19 hit, there's a couple of grants that I knew about, but when COVID-19 hit, all of a sudden now I'm getting cold calls on grants or cold calls on different ways to get loans or low interest loans, things that I knew nothing about. Or 22 years, I've never got a cold call on how to get a free grant and get free money. Never. And these are all grants and things that have already been here. Like I said, I only knew of one or two of them, but now I have a list that I'd never had before. And I think that's the access I think we need more of, because as a small businesses don't want to get large loans, because the fear is that if anything happens and I fail, I still have this big loan that I have to pay off. So I won't say the loan has been hard access to me. People are willing to kind of give you some money that you have to pay back with interest. But it's the grants access, access, knowledge on different ways on getting on different lists. Like I said, it was a couple years in, we learned about the minority and women-owned business list that we got listed on too, which gives you more access to city grants, city jobs. But like I said, grant list. Like, I mean, I just recently saw a list of 20 grants that, you know, I'm just trying to start to fill out for, and never ever heard of them. I've heard of maybe one of them, and even that was a grant that you had to pay first, and then they would reimburse you. So, I mean, like I said, as a small business, that extra capital, we're working on those loans are real hard for us to want to get. We want to try to keep it in-house, not to accrue any more debt than we have to.
I appreciate that, Mr. Williams. Mr. White, have you ran into anything like that? Or I guess if you would please tell us about the Black experience when kind of working with these financial institutions.
Well, I'm happy to hear that somebody else was able to get a loan, because nobody ever gave me nothing. Okay. I didn't get anything. I applied. I think I applied to maybe 2 or 3 different banks. Once I got turned down, like for the 3rd time, I was like, you know what? And I had other friends of other ethnicities, and I get, the algorithm and everybody's situation is different, but I know I was not able to get a loan. So, I worked, I still have my real estate license. So, I sold houses. I took temporary property management jobs to invest in my business because I couldn't get money anywhere. Now that I don't need the money, I get 20 emails a day, people trying to give you capital or grants or, things like that. And I'm just like, you know, when I needed it, you wouldn't give it to me. You know, it was definitely a struggle because, you know, with suppliers, you know, when you're new, when you're starting out, you know, they're not necessarily giving you terms. They want you to pay up front, you know, and to get your pricing, to get your margins right, you almost have to order in bulk. So all of those things, I think, put Black business owners at a disadvantage, because if I would have been able to get a loan starting out, and I would have been able to buy the right equipment starting out, buy my ingredients in bulk, you know, not have to go to Walmart to buy sugar and flour and butter, you know, all of those things that is, you know, at this point in the game, you know, 11 years later, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars that I could have reinvested in my business beforehand, instead of it being all out of pocket now, or the moment a cake order comes in the door, you know, I got to go to the store to buy supplies to make the next cake. So, you know, I tried, you know, I tried to get a loan and couldn't get anything.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, in hindsight, you know, 2020, I'm thankful that I didn't get a loan, because, you know, now everything I have is debt free. I don't owe anybody anything, you know, because I had to struggle and pay for it as I went along. So, you know, I guess I'm thankful in the long run, but there are a lot of other people, a lot of other minority business owners who may not have had a second source of income like I did. You know, they didn't have anything to fall back on. So it could have made the difference of them keeping their doors open or them closing their doors. But I was always told no.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate everyone sharing that. I want to do a brief chime check. We're at 12:41, so we have roughly 20 minutes left. So I certainly have more questions, but if you have any questions, by all means, please drop them in the chat. Because as I heard the stories, I kind of noticed this trend of, you know, historical kind of roadblocks in that space. But as we see a lot of civil unrest unfolding, people are like, hey, Black business, like, here's this money, like, here you go. What do you want to do with that? So in that same vein, we see the news reports of people like Prada, Gucci, putting blackface on their clothing, even Starbucks saying, you know, going out making a public saying Black Lives Matter, but then their employees can't kind of wear the merchandise, even though they can wear other type of affinity things that they're kind of advocating for. So that in turn kind of had their foot in their mouth. So for you, as business owners, I wonder, how can we hold businesses accountable for the stuff that they kind of articulate to the market and kind of the stuff that they do like that? Mr. Murray, do you mind kind of fielding that question first before we go around?
For me, the only way you can hold companies like that accountable is not to give them your money. I always tell people, even though I'm a Black business owner, I tell people I do good business. I don't want you to come to me because I'm Black. Come to me because literally I offer a great service. I mean, and if I'm Black as well, I'll take that. But you know, I want you to know that I do a good service. If somebody's not doing a good service, don't spend your money there. And you know, I can't blame Gucci. I can't blame Prada for things that they did. I mean, because if people are not upset about it enough to not still want to buy Gucci, not to still want to buy Prada, then really, can you really be upset? You can't tell people where to spend their money. And I think as a collective, we just have to, we have to tell people, you know, I think I'm just taking our three businesses, you know, word of mouth is important, you know, for us. And so when somebody says, hey man, go over there, they do good business, you know, those are the things you want. And so we have to be in our communities, we have to tell people, you know, hey, don't go buy that Gucci because listen, you know, they're not treating people right, or, you know, what have you. And so I just look at it as the only way you can hold people accountable is not to take your money there, to spend your money where you feel like it's going to do the most use.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The only way to affect them is not to spend your money. One of the things I preach to a lot of my customers now, that we've been here for 22 years, and just recently within the last 5 or 6 years, we've had a Domino's and Pizza Hungry Howard starting to deliver in our area. I was like, they didn't get your delivered to you years before, so don't give them your money now. In the same vein with Prada and Gucci and all them, if they don't respect your dollar, don't give them your dollar. I mean, and as I also agree with Kemuel saying, I don't want you to spend with me because I'm a Black-owned business. I want you to spend with me because I've been here servicing you with good service, a good product, and don't just jump to the next guy because they just started to slide into the area. And if they're not giving you that same type of service, that same type of quality product, don't give them your money. It's the only way to affect them.
Mr. White, I hear a recurring theme, but what your thoughts are here?
I agree with Mr. Williams and Mr. Murray. You know, so far as those larger brands, you know, I've never been a fan anyway. I've never been fascinated with labels. On top of that, they never carry, you know, large men's sizes, so I could never wear none of it anyway. But from the monetary standpoint, you know, people need not forget the services that they've had. Like Mr. Williams said, you know, he's been in the community for 20 plus years and he's been servicing the community. Just because Domino's started delivering, you know, don't discount his business and jump to Domino's. They didn't care about you before, so why give them your money now? And it's the same narrative. You know, I don't want somebody walking in the door saying, you know, I'm here just because you're a Black-owned business. I want you to come because, you know, I offer, you know, a wide selection. I have a good product. But, you know, if I've been here and I've been doing well and you know, an ABC bakery franchise opens up across the street, you know, remember that you haven't had a bakery here on the East Side all this time, and now you have one. So just because ABC Bakery opens up, you know, don't let my business go under because I've been here with you all the time. You know, it's you know, for me, it is definitely trying to say this the right way. It's loyalty. And I think that is something we lack in our community altogether, loyalty. If we are sticking together and we're in the community and we're building the community, just because there is another option, not to say that, if I sell pancakes and this other company sell pancakes, theirs might be better than mine, and that's okay. But maybe you go get pancakes from there and maybe you still get your chicken sandwiches from me. You know, it's about balance and supporting what you have around you as opposed to just, you know, letting it go. And when you see those big brands and you see things like that happening, you know, they're around because we continue to give them our money. You know, our wealthy continue to wear that clothing as a badge of honor. You know, so our young people, our young men, they see these trinkets and that's what wealth and value looks like to them. Even though they're printing shirts with a monkey on the front of it, you know, our youth see past that because they see, you know, this celebrity with it on. So, you know, the only way to stop things like that is, you know, hit them in the pocket, you know, stop spending the money, you know, stop patronizing them, stop supporting them. Without money, just like any other business, they fold.
I appreciate that because I don't know about everyone, but I'm sure we're all tired of seeing that blanket statement, we missed the mark. So thank you for kind of providing that tangible thing that we all can do. I encourage everyone to reach out to me. I know that there are a lot of resources out there that are trying to make this effort and kind of pooling all of the different kind of Black-owned businesses, specifically here in Charlotte and nationwide as well. So we can really kind of do that, kind of build that sense of community by leveraging different types of technologies and just coming together. So to that point, thinking about community, I think what I see a benefit of entrepreneurship and, you know, maybe being a bit more nimble than a lot of large corporations is really kind of leveraging and working together. So if you would maybe provide examples or just kind of tell me how your business is able to work with other Black-owned businesses, kind of instill that sense of community with each other. So that way, you know, it can just be that real robust ecosystem that I kind of referred to earlier. Mr. Murray, do you want to start with that one?
I think one thing that about being a Black-owned business and you see someone else as a Black-owned business, you kind of got this thing of, or maybe they're going through the same thing I'm going through. And so we've dealt with multiple Black-owned restaurants, Black-owned barbershops, things of those natures. As far as like we clean their towels, we come in and do those things, and it's that kind of support. Even though I don't get my hair cut from these places, but you know, I still support them as well. And so I think it's that thing of we try to support each other because I think we know where we're both. And I want to say not struggling, but any entrepreneur, whether you're white, Black, or brown, green, you're going to be struggling. And I think we all see that common struggle. And that's one of the things that we support. And I just want to just add, I know we're low on time. I just want to add that not only, you know, supporting the Black community, but other minority communities as well. I'm in the cleaning business, which is pretty much in Charlotte owned by 90% Koreans. And so I deal with, you know, all type of communities that, you know, not just Black, but also, you know, brown, Asian, what have you. I think is just so important as well, because I think, like I said, just trying to bring in that common struggle that we all are going through.
Mr. Williams, any additional thoughts there?
Yeah, I agree. When we need, it's not just the Black small business, but I would say all ethnicities. Like I know in my specific area, the gas station across the street is a small business, small Black, was previously Black owned. Now he recently sold the property, but it's small business owned. The Chinese food place right beside us. We all help each other. We pass out each other's flyers. We talk to each other. I mean, if I see a better price for something at Restaurant Depot versus Sam's or something, we talk, or Chef Depot. We discuss that together. We even work out days that we're closed based off inclement weather. You know, we talk to each other, and like I have their home numbers to call them and say, okay, I'm over here. The roads look bad because of snow out here. If y'all are not coming in today, this might not be the day for you. I mean, I know we do that in the local area that I'm at. I know I would hope that other small businesses reach out, even other small Black businesses reach out to each other and just kind of pass each other's information off. I know any new entrepreneur, I'm always giving them every piece of little information I can give them, just because I feel like if I've already went through this, let me be the little bridge builder and give you a easier road to take. You know, give me my little tools. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but we should all be reaching out to each other, give each other little tips, little trays, little ways around the wall, per se.
Mr. White, same question.
There is it's not Black owned, but there is a pizza place around the corner, and from me here in the shopping center, and you know, I supply desserts, you know, for them. There are a couple of other local, you know, Black owned restaurants that I supply desserts for, and I try to make sure the pricing is conducive, even, you know, because I have a set wholesale price, but even some of the food trucks that I supply desserts for, they get better than wholesale pricing, because even with that, their margins may not be where they are. So although it may cost me a little more money, I'm still profitable. And now this other business can make a profit as well. And it's going to give them more exposure, because now they have something else to offer their customers. And then, you know, returning, they allow me to keep my branding on the item. So when people do get it from, you know, ABC food truck, they still know it came from BW Sweets Bakery. So, you know, forming those partnerships is important, and supporting each other is definitely important. You know, whether you're white, Black, brown, Asian, because, you know, a small business is a small business. And when we're in these communities, especially like the east side of Charlotte, you have to support one another. Otherwise, you know, it just kind of falls by the wayside.
I appreciate that so much. So I'm blessed enough to travel for my job. Pre-BC, we call it, before Corona. And it irks my nerves so much every time I go to a different city, the only options I have are, you know, franchise 1, franchise 2, franchise 3. So thank everyone so much for kind of providing their respective businesses and service. I want to do just one quick round around the horn before we kind of close, and I'll invite Rabbi Judy to kind of, you know, provide updates and help us close here. Mr. Murray, Mr. White, Mr. Williams, just any kind of last thing that you want the audience to know before we close here today? Mr. Murray, you first, please.
Just thankful for this time, and just to say it was an honor to be up here with Javon, Frankie. I'm the link between them. I know both of these guys. I went to school with them, and I just want to say, and I'm not speaking on our behalf, but we graduated from Garinger High School, and for most people that in the 90s, that's a lot to say, to be business owners, and I'm proud of that. I am so proud of that. I'm proud to tell people I went to Garinger, and that I'm a business owner in Charlotte, because those two things just seem like they're opposite of each other. From what I know, most of and like I said, I can't speak for their friends, but most of my friends that I knew, like, I don't know them. Like, they either went in some direction that I didn't go. And so just like I said, it's just such an honor to be up here with Javon, Frankie. Like I said, we grew up in similar neighborhoods. We grew up in the same neighborhood. And it's just something to say, to see three Black men from the high school that I went, that they know the same experience that I went through, and to be have some success. I'm just happy to be a part of that.
Mr. Williams.
Yeah, I also like to say, I am very proud to be on the panel with some, like as we said, unicorns, born and raised Charlotteans and Garinger alumni, and really back-to-back alumni, 94, 95, 96. It's good seeing that we produced out a good product. Like Kemuel was saying, there's a lot of friends, or even a lot of stereotypical beliefs about Garinger High School, and when we came out, and see us all here working and be able to bump to each other, and we're healthy and striving and surviving in Charlotte. Like I said, it is really good to see, and I'm just happy that y'all allowed me to be on this panel to be able to talk about it.
We're happy to have you. I can't stress that enough. Mr. White, anything you want the crowd to know?
Very same thing. I grew up like 6 houses down from Kemuel. So, knowing him for the majority of my life, as we graduated high school, we took different paths. We lost touch a little bit, but to circle back and to be in the space that my bakery is in now, I used to get my hair cut here when I was a kid. So, it's full circle, and, coming from Garinger High School, and like both of them said, a lot of the people I grew up with, they're in some very different situations. So to be on a panel with other Black men who are doing something positive, who are enriching the community, and who have a purpose other than, because running a business, obviously you want to be profitable, but it's more than just about making money. So to be amongst other people like that is definitely, truly an honor.
The estimated white business value in Charlotte, according to Prosperity Now, is $476,000. The Black business estimated value is $66,000. With everybody on this call's help, we can certainly address that and attack this and make Charlotte the most equitable place that we can. Rabbi, do you want to kind of close and provide an update for restorative justice CLT? I know we have some great news from the City Council as well. Any comments from you?
Sure, and then I'll pass it off to Shannon to close out the program. Last night, the mayor led the way for the community in offering an apology. She acknowledged the history and complexities of systemic racism and our city government's role in perpetuating those systems. So that was the mayor, and that was the city council. But that's just a first step, right? To restore the historic wrongs that have been created, we have an apology, we have restorative measures, and we change systems, so we're not doing it again. So that was the apology. She is calling for the city to move forward in creating those restorative measures and changing systems, and to dismantle the racist policies and practices of our city. But she's also calling on every other system and sector, right? The county and the banking and the business industry and the faith community. What's the role of white churches in this city? So we invite you to please join this work, because the more voices, the more power we have, the more influence we have to really call our city to accountability. So we invite you, Shannon will sort of share how you can get in touch, how you can sign a personal statement and say, I'm in, right? I acknowledge, for those of us who are white, I acknowledge this racist systems on which our city's been built and on which my life, the benefits that have come my way have been at the harm of another. And I'm committed to doing the work to right historic wrongs. So please join us on this journey, and we will share this video and this recording and let people know how great you all are, the wonderful work you do, and how we can support you and lift you up, along with so many other Black business owners who are working hard and are truly great human beings and doing great work. Shannon.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Judy. And again, thank you all for participating today. We have heard some really impactful stories of perseverance and hard work, and basically that thing my dad used to call stick-to-itiveness. It's stick to it and stick it out. So Mr. Williams, Mr. White, Mr. Murray, thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing a little bit more about your businesses. It's lunchtime, so go first, drop your cleaning off, grab a pizza and go get a donut or a cake. You've got 3 good places to go today, so we really appreciate it. Mr. Crumlin, thank you so much for moderating today. And I don't think I mentioned it before, but Trey serves on the board of directors as well for Restorative Justice Charlotte. And so to that end, as we shared before, we want you to definitely get involved. So that means visit our website, restorativejusticeclt.org, and there's many ways to advocate, to be an ambassador, to sign up and sign that commitment and let this city know that there's work to be done and you're going to be a part of it. Additionally, follow us on our social media channels. That's all listed in the chat. You'll receive an email after this broadcast that gives you all of that information, but we want partnership. We think that this city can be even greater. We're going to be answering the questions behind Black mobility and upward mobility and all of those things that actually the mayor apologized for last night. It's time. And we have a very captive audience to do it, and we need everyone. So thank you all so much for coming in today. And Rabbi Schindler, can you close us out with a devotion? Benediction.
Okay. Well, what speaks to me right now, or the biggest metaphor during COVID for me, this trying time, has been Hagar, who was cast out in Genesis. And she was afraid and fearful, and she thought her son was going to die, and there was no water, and she was desperate. And God opened her eyes, and there was a wellspring before her. And so we thank God for the wellsprings that we have in each other, that we can, in those fearful times, look to each other and build partnerships and support each other and move each other forward. So for all of you who are business leaders, may the wellsprings that you have sustain you, renew you, replenish you, and may together we nourish our community so that we can be that shining city for all to admire. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, everyone.